The following is a Journey into Comics Network production.
Good luck.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Addicts Podcast, the show where we talk about the modern and retro video games that we play and collect. This is episode 64. Today, I'm joined with this podcast player too, Nate.
Dude, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. This is like your third appearance on the show?
Maybe fourth.
Maybe
it's
fourth.
getting up there.
Well, because we've done a few retrospectives.
We did the Xbox
360. We
360,
did the
PlayStation 2.
Was
Was I on a regular random episode at one point in time?
There was a crossover episode where I went up to your neck of the woods and Veronica and Rob were on. It was like early on.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So there was that episode.
And then we are doing this now today.
Yeah, so we brought you back for another retrospective. And here's the thing is that Mike never owned this system. And I didn't own it until later, but I played a lot of it when I was a kid. And that is, of course, we can't do episode 64 and not cover the Nintendo 64.
It's funny, too, because that's like a callback to the Journey into Comics episode 64, which was Tangent 64.
Yeah.
Because it was like a tangential episode where we ranted about the N64 for some reason, I think.
It might have been like a little like Easter egg thing
Possibly.
where a joke was made or something.
Something just subtly. It's really funny, though, because as we're recording this, it's like just on the other side of Christmas. This system is something that the year it launched, I got it for Christmas. And I hold that moment just right here in my chesty plate because fond memories of this system.
Well, see, this system, I remember hearing about it well before it came out, and it was originally called the Ultra 64. And it was going to be coming out in 95 or whatever. Of course, the other competitors launched in 95. That was the Sega Saturn and then the Sony PlayStation. I think the Atari Jaguar came out in 94. And that boasted 64 bits. But it really wasn't. It was like 32 bits times 2, which is 64, but it's not the same as a 64-bit processor or however you want to like put into it. It had two of them that were linked up into one, CPU or whatever. So it worked differently. But of course, that massively failed. The Saturn was on life support from day one. The Sony PlayStation launched to the moon. And then
it's still out there.
Yeah.
It's still going.
It's still going, man. It's like that Voyager satellite that just kicked on.
Yeah, it's like in deep space now. It's outside of our solar system or something.
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, it just kicked on for the first time. Oh, that's crazy. But no, this system, not to cut you off, but this system does hold a special place in my heart. It's awesome because a lot of the games I played on this system were more rentals. This was definitely a time in my life where I was renting more games than owning. The games I did own, trust me, I have fond memories of what I owned, and a lot of those are here today. So it's going to be, I'm really excited to talk about this.
I am too, because in my youth, my very first system I owned was the Super Nintendo.
Awesome. Love that system.
I played the NES. The very first system I ever remember playing is ColecoVision for whatever reason, but I played a lot of NES. But I didn't own an NES. I got a Super NES. And then my grandma got me a Sega Genesis Model 2, and that was to be at her house. And so I was in this weird thing of when I would get new games, it was like, what do I want for what? I wasn't just focusing on one console. But I was in luck because we had like a little trading ring between some of our friends with a Super Nintendo. So many kids in town had Super Nintendo, so it wasn't difficult to borrow any game. So I got to play almost all the games I ever wanted to play on that system, minus a few of the rarities,
Like Tin Star.
Like Earthbound. I never played Earthbound when I was a kid.
Tin Star is not a rare game. It's really a terrible shooter game. Yeah, essentially, it's a side scroller where you're like an Earthworm Jim type character, and you're shooting all these other characters on screen by moving the D-pad to select where they are, and then trigger shooting them or whatever. But they have this cool thing that I never will forget it's just a Super Nintendo tangent for a second here. There was a quick draw thing in the final battle where your bullet would be on one of the 6 things and you would have to quickly select that bullet for it to actually fire at the bad guy. It was really weird. It was like a robotic Wild Wild West game.
Well, see, I remember playing I don't remember playing. I'm sorry. I remember not playing it's like Sunset Riders.
Okay, yeah.
I remember seeing it, never playing it because I never saw it. But like games like Turtles in Time, Turtles Tournament Fighters. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yes.
It was like the Turtles fighter game.
Yes, absolutely.
I remember playing the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or just Power Rangers fighting game.
It only had the original 5, right?
Well, no. Okay, so that was on Genesis. For Super Nintendo, you had like all the Zords, and you had like the Shogun Zord and all that stuff.
Oh, it was the fighter. It wasn't the side-scrolling game. It was just a fighting game. Okay.
No, it's a fighting game. But going to the N64, some of my friends went ahead and got the N64 that year. And, of course, going into 97, I do believe it was, or 98, we were always a few years behind. Like, we all weren't super rich in my town.
No, not at all.
So, like, I was trying to decide. My parents were going to get me a new system. And for the longest time, I was straight up N64. Let's get N64. I remember playing one at Walmart. I remember just playing at my friend's house. I wanted the N64. And it wasn't until I spent the night at my buddy's house that I played his PlayStation. So I got a PlayStation. So I never got this until much later. And I got it off of this system, very same one. I got it off an eBay sale in 2006.
Wow.
And I got a handful of games with it.
Cool.
And I ended up, when I sold all my video game stuff, I sold this system.
No.
And I sold all the games I had for it.
No.
And then when I started collecting, I bought the same system back from the same dude, and he had more games for it. And he just gave me all the newer ones he had.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So some of the games I have now are from that. Was it Rogue Squadron and Shadows of the Empire? I did not own those.
Wow.
But of course, I want to say I owned Shadows, but I couldn't. I didn't have it when I sold it. I don't know what happened to it. It's one of those weird things where you lose games and they just disappear into the void.
Like my Zombies Ate My Neighbors for Super. It just disappeared into the abyss. I have no idea where it went ever.
I need to get that because I have a box for it, but I have the Genesis version.
You're just holding on because you're like, damn it, I have it on Genesis. I don't need the same game twice because
yes,
it's literally going to be the
game.
same game.
It is the exact same game. But here we are for this. This launched in, I want to say, September of 96.
Correct.
So it launched a full year after the PlayStation. And it came out hot. It came out hot and heavy because Nintendo was a brand now after two systems and a handheld that was name brand. It was like buying the new Nintendo was buying a new quality product gaming machine. Now, the difference is that both Sega and Sony went with disc-based systems.
Nintendo stuck with the cart.
They went with the cart. Originally, they were going to go with disc. All the early plans were them going with the disc.
Wasn't this system originally like being worked on with Sony? Was that like the lead-in that was the Sony like?
They were
CD
working with
system?
Sony to make a CD system for the Super Nintendo.
Super, that's my
and
fault.
It was going to be called the PlayStation, and it was going to be co-branded. Sony was going to be able to sell it, and it was going to and Sony was going to be able to make games for it for the disc-based, and that was going to be their primary one. But it was also going to have a slot for Super Nintendo game cartridges for you to be able to play all the existing library, which was, they saw what Sega was doing with the CD system and like, well, we want something comparable. So Sony came out at one of the E3s, is like, yeah, we're working with Nintendo and we're doing this disc-based system for us, and this is what we have here. And then Nintendo came out for their press conference and said, we're actually working with Phillips.
Really?
Yeah.
At the press conference?
Yeah.
That's shiesty.
And Sony's like,
Shut down.
News to us, guys. Yeah, that sucks.
That kind of sparked them, though. Really, it fueled them to create the PlayStation and set themselves apart.
So then I want to say they went somewhere else first before they decided to make their own way. And I don't know if they were going over to Sega and saying, hey, this is what we got. Are you guys interested in integrating it? Sega's like, we already got our own thing going on. So Sony's like, you know what? We're already invested this much money. Roll up the sleeves. Let's go. We're going to make our own system.
Finish the work.
And so, I mean, at this time, you had the 3DO system. You had, Philips finished their system. It's called the Philips CDI. And what the deal that led to that, it wasn't a 2-in-1. It was just a CD-based system that then you had really crappy, Philips-made Nintendo property games on there.
Oh, no.
And it was a nightmare for Nintendo. That whole experience left a bad taste in their mouths for the disc media. So when going into this, there was a good proportion of the company guys that were like, we needed to go disc to compete, and there's other guys going, the higher ups going, I don't know, disc is, I don't know, I think we just need to stick with cartridges. And other people in this company are like, no, dude, like it's gonna be so much cheaper, and but they ended up losing out. And we ended up getting these cartridges, and they never called them cartridges. I don't know if you ever know this.
No, I didn't.
They call them game packs.
Actually, I did know that. I just never even connected those two. But it's funny that you grabbed that game, because that was the first of the games that I got.
WCW versus NWO World Tour.
It's not that great.
Well, it's made by AKI and published by THQ. And this is one of the first big games that I played as well. And, of course, big wrestling fan growing up. Of course, in like the era of like the Monday Night War and all that kind of stuff, WCW and the NWO, and they were really hot at the time.
Yep.
So it was really cool to be into them and to be able to play. But the cartridges, just like any of the other cartridge-based systems, loaded right up here at the top, and you turn your system on. This system came with 4 controller ports, which is awesome because you could do 4 players or more on the Sony console, but you needed an extra adapter for that.
Yep.
Yeah, so out of the gate, this is a little bit more friendly for 4 players, for more couch co-op.
And man, did they create some awesome 4-player games for this, thinking about Mario Party, thinking about Mario Kart. I put those 2 words together.
Yeah. Mario Parts.
Mario Parts. Came out as Mario Parts. But yeah, it was fun to play with multi-people on this thing. You could just get a bunch of friends together and nerd down. I mean, me and my dad and my sister would sometimes just sit and play whatever, But with the WCW versus NWO, it was like, wow, 3D polygons and what the hell? And of course, with the system came this game.
Yeah, Super Mario 64. Now, before we get into Mario, what I want to say about the cartridges is that it severely limited the space capacity, and with the discs you had a lot more space capacity, like 700 something megabytes that they could fit on a total CD, and then of course you could use compression tricks and all this sort of stuff. On a cartridge, it was also more expensive to create them, so the games were more expensive on the N64 than they were on the Sony PlayStation. Brand new games on the PlayStation cost you $40. On the N64, sometimes up to 70.
Dang.
And it really just depended. It depended on the title, space, and a lot of other things. But load times on this were really fast.
Very fast.
But the sound quality suffered.
Also true.
So it's like it's give and take with the system. But the game that came with the system packed in was Super Mario 64, and of course it was. I mean, there's besides the GameCube and maybe the Wii, there's always been a big Mario title usually associated with the system. And even with the Switch that came out last year, it took a little while, but we got Mario Odyssey out of it.
Yeah, they hyped that Odyssey was coming.
Odyssey is really probably the closest thing to a sequel this game has gotten.
Really?
My opinion.
That's awesome. Makes me want to Switch even more. Damn it.
Oh, dude, you need to get Switch. You'll love it. You'll
okay.
absolutely love the system. But I do have the Player's Choice, which is like the greatest hits. So after the game already sold millions of copies with selling with the system and then by itself, they released, probably a little bit slightly cheaper version of the game with this little ribbon up here with the Player's Choice. But I was able to get one boxed much later, and I barely even played.
It's crispy.
The one thing that I do like in the box is the same way. Okay, so how many people have you kept your boxes when you were a kid?
Oh, I kept a lot of them. I had for a long time a lot of my collectible boxes for games and toys. I would keep cards from the backs of toys just because it would have all the other toys you could get, and I would just fucking love looking at them,
Because you wanted them.
Exactly.
All right, so when I was a kid, I still had some of my Super Nintendo boxes. They all got crunched and not taken care of very well. But for this, what they did, no matter how you put this up there on your shelf, okay, so how would you go? Okay, so here, you got the label, it's yellow, but what if you put it like this? Now it's green, and then, there's not really something over there, but over here, we have...
It's blue.
In the box, blue.
Red over here.
Yeah, and then green.
Huh. That was another big thing with these systems, and it's unfortunate that neither of us had one of these to show off. I actually had a couple years later, I would get the translucent purple.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful system.
They did like the fun colors.
But they locked into that idea of almost like how the Mac did for a while with the backs being multicolored. Like Nintendo was like, we're going to do translucent colored blue and green and orange. And I think there were 6 colors: purple, red, blue, green, orange, and yellow. Maybe was there a yellow system?
Maybe there was like a red,
or maybe there was.
And there's a couple ones that are hard to find. I know that I know that the green one's kind of like pricey, and some of those have gone up. But of course, they also had variants for the console as well. You had the Donkey Kong system.
Hey, You Pikachu system.
You had the general Pokemon Pikachu system. It had a big old Pikachu on it.
Yep.
I've actually seen one in person, and
ooh.
They're just, again, it's like I have a hard time buying multiple copies of a system if it's not just for backup. I have like 2 collectible systems like in my category, and
love that one.
It's the 360 and then the Xbox One. So like I really like, and those were circumstantial. Those were just like I got like a chance to get those first. Had I had a regular system and you're like, hey man, do you want this other one? Like the only one right now that I'm like biting my lip on is the Gears of War Xbox One S.
Blaine has
that, and it's like the 2 terabyte.
Gorgeous.
Yes, I love the system. It looks really cool. I don't need it,
but you want it.
Kind of
a lot.
Not enough to want to like shell out the money for it.
Okay, fair enough.
So this system launched, and right away they announced an expansion for it.
Okay.
They announced the 64 disk drive or DD, and what this was much like the idea for like the Super Nintendo, because the Super Nintendo has this expansion bay on the bottom. It was going to plug in on the bottom, and it was going to be like they were almost like floppy disks, but they were like these little plastic cartridges that had the disc stuff in there, and it did come out in Japan. But only a handful of games ever came out, and I think it only ever moved. You had to get it by calling a number or doing a mail order type thing.
Oh, wow.
And you had, I think, only like 12,000 of them ever made out in the wild.
That's the 64 DD?
Yeah.
And that did not come out in America officially, but there were some prototypes.
There was one prototype that is officially out there, and Metal Jesus has that.
That's awesome. I feel like, that was the Super Nintendo thing. The guy from, I can't think of what that channel is. But Big Geek something or other.
He had one of the PlayStation prototypes.
Yes, he fixed the PlayStation prototype. I watched that.
Ben Heck.
Ben Heck, thank you. The Ben Heck Show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but we never officially saw, the 64 drive that, and originally, just like with the Nintendo had the Famicom Disk System, and Zelda was in Japan is for the Famicom Disk System.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up just getting on a cartridge. Well, like Majora's Mask was on the 64 DD. I was originally playing for that, and we just ended up getting it for a cartridge. But we'll definitely cover Majora's in a minute. But I want to move to the controller, because this controller is divisive, super divisive.
How do you hold it? What's your way? How do you?
Well, it depends on what game you're playing.
Correct.
Because you can really hold it. It's like this tri-wing little thing with one analog stick, D-pad over here on the left. You have one big start button in the middle, no select. Your B and your A buttons, your C buttons, which are almost in some cases like another stick.
Yep.
But some games don't utilize them that way at all. And then you have your R and L, and on the very bottom below the stick is a Z button or a trigger. It's just a button, but like when you were playing a shooter game, it acted as the trigger, because you could play it like this with your thumb on the stick, and then you would have your R button. So no matter what, you like, if you're holding it this way, you have access to like a directional pad and 2 shoulder buttons, and then your face buttons. If you're holding it via the stick, you have access to almost the same number of buttons.
Yeah, you cannot do everything. Like, you would have to be like cover the spread like the Brando. The thing about this controller, okay, and this is something you did not experience as a kid, but do you know the worst part about this controller?
Getting calloused.
This motion from playing. Okay, so on Mario Party, the first one of the mini games was a tug of war where one character was in the Bowser suit and the other 3 characters were regular. So one person with the Bowser suit is trying to keep the other 3, and you would just do this and do this until there was literally a blister in the palm of your fucking hand, and it was so painful, but always worth it when you won.
If you contacted Nintendo about that, they sent you a glove.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A Nintendo blister glove.
Shit, I wish I would have known that. I would have loved to have had one.
Now go ahead and go over there and reach for that memory card because
This one.
Yes. Now, the cartridges did have memory built onto them because obviously they're just like ROM boards, you know. But sometimes you would need external memory, and they would plug it right into the controller port, where you would just, I think this one here, yeah, you would just plug that in.
That's it.
Yeah. But then, of course, they would also release a Rumble Pack, which I don't have.
I did, and I don't have it anymore.
Which the Rumble Pack took batteries, and it came with Starfox, and you would be playing, and it would just vibrate. Now, eventually, the Sony controllers would build that into their controllers.
DualShock 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Well, because originally it was not just it didn't have any sticks, and then they released one that had dual analog sticks, but no rumble, and then finally the DualShock was the final one of that. But the other thing that I do have here, and I got this from Goodwill, along with a different gray controller that I fixed up.
Oh, this guy here, yeah.
He's in a little bit of a rough shape.
He'd been to war.
This right here was one of those pegs on the inside of the controllers that are broken. This controller was in really rough and dirty shape. Now it works, but it's not the ideal player one. But when I found this in Goodwill,
that was on it.
Yeah,
sweet.
It was $3 for the whole thing.
Sold.
And I mean, that was $3 for this. And then what this is the Game Boy Color Transfer Pack, and it was released just for Pokemon Stadium.
Well, I'll get that in a minute.
Bye, controller. See you later.
See you later.
Please note that the PS3 is curved.
I did not note that. Definitely set that down on that curved surface, and it just dipped into the abyss.
So the transfer pack, you would use it to... You could transfer your trained Pokemon with their moves from your Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and I think that was it at the time.
For Pokemon Stadium 1, because they, of course, did Stadium 2 that was for gold and silver. Now, one thing, because I am who I am, I'm just being honest here, I loved Pokemon Stadium, had it. Yes, it was $70. Yes, I remember the big argument of war of my parents of like, listen, I need this game. I love Pokemon. That's the Pokemon game. It goes hand in hand. The end. That's all you need to know, you know? So anyways, before I had that, I had bought a Pelican cheat card thing, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I created a Snorlax level 100 with Explode, easily defeat Mewtwo in Pokemon Stadium. Literally, you explode and your Snorlax has 1 HP left, and Mewtwo dies, and it's glorious. It's glorious. But that was the shit, man. Taking your Pokemon before you did that, because I did have like regular Pokemon I trained and played the hell out of those games, but like to have them show up in this system was just like magical at the time, you know.
Now, if you beat Pokemon Stadium on hard, I think you would get access to be able to play your Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow on your TV. It would read it off the card here, you know, and it would do like an emulation.
And there was a screen. They had like a Pokemon screen that was around the thing.
Yeah.
Another thing with Pokemon Stadium was it had some really fun mini games. Like there was like the Diglett ring toss, and there was like a Lickitung sushi game. So the plates would go around, and the like yellow plate was the rarest, and you had to try to get those or something. I don't remember, but I played the fudge out of Pokemon Stadium 1. And subsequently 2 when it came out.
Not yawning because your story was boring.
Attack of the Yawns. Revenge of the Yawns.
All right, so this controller is, of course, the original controller that comes with the system is a bit darker, a bit lighter. The darker controller, which is almost matches the controller in color, or the system controller. I can't talk, guys.
It's all right.
I got this at Goodwill as well.
That one looks like nearly brand new. It feels nearly brand new.
Yeah, I got this for $3.
Score!
And like literally, it's. I just dusted it and cleaned it.
It looks great. It's an awesome
This is my
controller.
when I'm testing out games or playing in 64. This controller I use.
I can't believe you have a Superboy.
Well,
or Super Pad.
We'll talk about that because one thing that you already mentioned the sticks. The sticks in these controllers go bad.
They do.
And have you ever opened one up and looked at it?
Isn't it like there's a rubber band on it or something?
Well, it's not rubber band, but they're just awful, dude. And the thing is that over time they lose their balance. So like they would just like drift, or they won't go back to the middle. And they actually do make replacement sticks
Really?
that are like more akin to the GameCube style of stick, which is a more analog stick.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is plug it in, and how the stick connects to the motherboard is just with a little pin connector.
Mm-hmm.
You can plug it right in.
Oh, that's awesome.
The only thing is that it like for some games it's not as precise. And so you have to move the stick maybe a little bit more, so there's more of a dead zone.
Gotcha.
Than what you would normally have, but apparently you can get used to it. I almost have ordered one, but I'm just like kind of like the rocking back and forth, like, man, shouldn't I?
Biding your time.
Well, because I have obviously a controller I could put it in to try it out, the one that's in the Abyss.
In the Abyss.
But
I will reach you. Dude, I did that like a G.
And there goes the Vita.
No, I will not allow that to happen.
All right, so this I got with the system when I got it on eBay, and this is a performance brand, SuperPad 64, and this is a third-party controller. And
Maxi or? Sorry, that was a terrible joke. Oh,
so
Jesus.
So basically, it's very similar. However, it has a more rounded appearance up here. So this is actually a little bit more comfortable for me to hold in this position. This, however,
you got slightly bigger mitts, but that looks like you don't have a lot of space at all with your two hands. They're like smacking into each other.
They are a little bit, crunched together. And if I remember correctly, this does just
screws off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come on.
Never seen anybody do that before to that system.
Okay, so this is a different kind of stick than the regular stick, too. Oh, it just pulls off.
That's what she said? Oh, wow.
So, yeah, imagine playing. Imagine doing the...
Ow! Stab my palm. Holy shit.
I want to play a game.
I want to play a game.
You would play tug of war in Mario Party with this stick. Oh, no! You will dig a hole into your palm of your hand.
See, I feel like Jigsaw would do something worse than that, and he would like actually put a spike through it where you had to just like slam your hand through it, and then someone else played around you. Oh man, I have a gaping hand hole in my
Our buddy
hand.
Preston had one of these, but it was gold.
Oh, fancy.
And I mean, eventually, it was just black because how much he played Like, he rubbed all the paint off of his hands. But
oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I just remember.
Let me see this.
It's not the...
I vote no, Scott. This feels like ass.
So that is now the official designated player 4 controller. Just put it over there on the couch.
Sure.
Now, there is another controller made by Hori.
Oh, I like Hori controllers.
Hori... I'm going to have to look this up because I don't have one because... they's expansive.
Well, while you're looking that up, I can talk quickly about Hori because we have a GameCube Super Nintendo Hori controller, and it's phenomenal. It's a GameCube controller shaped like a Super Nintendo controller, and it is the best thing since sliced bread.
All right, so what this does...
Oh, wow. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, dude, it just like... Whoa. That's crazy. It like moved the analog stick over.
All right, so the stick is more like a GameCube stick.
Dang.
Built in. The D-pad's in the middle. It's very scrunched together, and it's more like a conventional just two-handed controller. Like it's not a tri.
And people complain about the Switch controller being small.
This thing is tiny.
Yeah.
This thing is tiny. And then I want to say it has like a Z button, like somewhere like on either side or on both sides or whatever. But for some games, this controller is so comfortable.
Oh yeah.
And let's see, I looked it up on Amazon, used from $94.
Oh! You ever spend $94 on a controller, Brando?
No, I have not.
What's the most you've ever spent on a controller?
Oh man, probably the Switch Pro controller.
70?
70.
Ouch.
So yes, I have almost spent it, but that was brand new.
Those are all going to be used, obviously.
Right, so this is the stick replacement.
Oh, cool. That is not too expensive.
Yeah, so it just plugs right in, and it's only like $10.50 on Amazon.
Not bad.
I'm tempted, and maybe I will do it, and then we'll do like a little revisit to see how it works.
Why don't you do Brando's repair shop and then like do a video where you do the like changing of the thing? It's like a 5-second video because you're just plugging a thing in. But I mean, it's a good idea for content, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is. But okay, so we didn't really talk too much about Mario 64.
Love that game.
Okay, so Mario 64 was of course the pack-in game, and what this did for 3D platformers back then, like everybody tried to emulate the magic of this, because we're moving into the realm of the 3D platforming. You know, if you look at Crash Bandicoot, it's 3D, but it's different.
Yeah.
Because typically, Crash is kind of running in one direction. You know, it's not completely.
It's definitely a fixed camera game.
Yes, and yes, it's 3D, but at the same time, it's a fixed camera. So then, with this, you have given you can move the camera around. You don't have total camera movement, but you have free range movement of the character.
Is it okay to air a grievance real quick?
Go.
So you and Mike were talking about this game on an earlier episode of Game Addicts, and you discussed how there's only one special cap, which is the flying cap. You guys did not talk about the metal cap, which is my favorite cap in the game, because it allows you to go underwater without having to deal with fucking swimming, and it allowed you to walk on things. This game, I got 119 of the 120 stars. I damn near 100% of this game, and I couldn't get that last
You have
star.
a hard time about getting that 100%.
It's weird. It's like 1%.
Even when you do, it doesn't give you the achievement for it.
Damn bully. And it's weird because the first game that actually gave me the achievement was Lego Marvel Superheroes. Of course, I devastated that game. Huge nerd, but I really, Brando, this game, many, many hours of my childhood spent playing Mario 64. I love that you jump into the paintings. There are a couple of my favorite levels, just to quickly talk about this, is you jump into a Princess Peach painting early in the castle, and you are in a race with a penguin down a slide. Or no. You jump in that painting, and there's a different race. But if you are in the snow world and you go down the chimney, you race the penguin to try to get its baby or something. I don't remember. Of course, this game introduced red coins. The 8 red coins gives you something new. There's the water level where there's the spiders that walk on top of the water, and that's pretty cool. The level where you go into the painting one way, and you're really big in a really tiny world. Or if you go into the painting the other way, you're really tiny in a really big world. So, and it's the same world. So that game just did it all. I mean, that's one of those games that I could go back today and start playing and would just fall right back in sync with very easily.
Okay, so starting off, we will go back to the wrestling titles, because we're going to go to WCW versus NWO World Tour, which we mentioned earlier.
They had some Japanese wrestlers on there, right?
Yeah.
And different alternate arenas and shit.
Yeah. The roster itself was pretty small. I remember you can unlock a few guys. Black Ninja was my dude. Black Ninja. I remember one very specific memory I have with this game. It was me, Jason, and Preston playing that game, and I was Black Ninja. Jason was Rey Mysterio.
Of course.
Preston was Kevin Nash.
Of course.
And then we also had one other dude. And it's funny because we all got rid of him with the first 5 minutes. We all just teamed up on him and got him out. And then the next 15 minutes, or maybe 10 to 15 minutes, were the three of us trying, because it was elimination style, right? So then we ended up eliminating Preston. So then the next 25 minutes.
Wow.
We're just the rest, me and Jason,
back and forth.
And Preston was so excited. I just remember him he could not stay sitting down. He was up, and he was almost doing commentary like JR.
Well, that's classy, because that's when you're with your friends and it's a one-on-one battle and there's the power struggle. It's great. One thing I liked about this, I feel like in this game, didn't it when you did your finisher, it replayed it 3 times in a row and then went back into the match?
Yeah, I think you could turn it off, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Or maybe it was. I think the game sequel, Revenge, which is this one.
Yeah.
WCW Nwo Revenge, got also made by the same dudes. Much larger roster. This is a really good sequel for the first one, because this brings in a larger roster. Now you could also kind of customize the appearance of some of the dudes, and you can give Sting his old look back and all that kind of cool stuff.
Surfer Sting.
And one thing that I really dug is that if you dug deep into some of these characters, you can find some of the I found Black Ninja.
Oh, that's awesome.
The dude's name was Hanzomon.
Okay.
And I found him, and I finally just selected him. Maybe I accidentally because when you did a Royal Rumble or a Battle Royal, you would sometimes just end up playing a random dudes, and then you would be like, I don't want to be this dude, and you would just stand on the outside like, eliminate me quick.
Now I'm a different dude. Thank you.
And then all of a sudden, like your friend keeps eliminating you. He's like, oh, come on, man. And then finally you come out as Goldberg, and you're like, no.
Everybody's like, why are you Goldberg? You know what's weird? I did not play Revenge nearly as much as I played Backstage Assault. And I think I'm embarrassed to say that, but I really, when I rented Backstage Assault, I did not, I guess Backstage Assault was not enough of a sell for me to understand what the concept of the game was. Because I spent the first hour going like, when the fuck do I get to the ring? Like, when are the matches going to start? You don't. It's all backstage. You're in a toilet in a bathroom. And
now, we'll just go to this one. This is called WWF Warzone. This is made by Acclaim. And I actually played this. This is my first game on PlayStation.
This one had the tournament style, like you would select a wrestler and you would have to have like go through each wrestler, work your way to the top.
And then like the moves would be like a combination of buttons.
Yeah, so I have a funny little side story about this. In this game, I played as, I think it was, I can't remember which direction. You're going to be able to better inform me who I was because it's been a long time. And I know you weren't there, but trust me, you'll understand once I get to the end of the story. So I played as either Austin or as Undertaker. Worked my way up the chain and defeated the champion the night that whichever one of them won the belt from each other. I think it was the night that Taker beat Austin because there was the whole like thing with Kane and Vince tried to screw Austin, and then the whole thing the next night on Raw where they were going to present the belt to...
That was the... it was a triple threat.
Yes.
And Kane and Taker pinned Austin at the
same time. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so that happened, and it was just like shocking to me because I was like, oh, I predicted it! I made it happen! Woo! You know, like, even though I liked Austin, I liked Undertaker too. It was cool as shit to see him possibly win the title again. And then, of course, I think that got like undone. Vince gets his leg broke, maybe?
His ankle.
Ankle, yeah.
They smashed his ankle because that was when Austin drove the Zamboni.
Yes. And then, smacked into the ring journey into wrestling tangent here.
And then, but okay, so this game, the dudes were like this.
Dude, is this the one with Ahmed Johnson? Where the funny lines come from?
Yeah. Well, because like they would talk and you would get crowd chants, and then JR and Vince were doing commentary, and if you stand there and don't move, they just start saying all kinds of stuff. It's like JR's like, I'd rather watch two old women slap each other. Like me and Preston sat there forever and listened to all of them. And what's funny is that you could also unlock cheats to make Vince and JR sound like really high pitched, like they were like
squeaky voice.
Squeaky voices.
That's funny.
And then you can also unlock a thing where like every time you hit somebody, they burped or farted.
Oh, I do remember that one. Yeah.
So like us being little immature kids, we're just dying of laughter every time one of us powerbombed each other.
Oh, that's great.
The sequel to this was Attitude, which I don't have. I have it on PlayStation. I don't have it on the 64. The last one, there was another. Okay, so yeah, we'll just do these two side by side. Now, after AKI and THQ, the license ran out for WCW. They went over to WWF and they started making their games. So we got WWF WrestleMania 2000, and this was the first one. This is almost like a sequel to Revenge.
Yeah,
the same type of game style. Now the thing is that the AKI games were also released in Japan with different rosters.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was the same game. So literally, you can get the Japanese version of this game with different people. It has like Vader and people like that.
Cool.
Yeah. And of course, then you get to the penultimate of the wrestling games on the system. Again, THQ, AKI.
Could still be argued maybe the greatest wrestling game ever made.
WWF No Mercy has a great roster, has a great gameplay style. More of a simple, it's the same gameplay style, but it's all like incrementally increased.
And they started introducing like a storyline with the backstage stuff, and you would have like the build to your match and whatnot.
Well, like they kind of did that with WrestleMania 2000 a little bit.
I never played that.
But then with No Mercy, yeah, they had like this big like storyline chain where they would do like you can play as your created dude, and it was hilarious in some cases because like you would go to WrestleMania and you'd win and Vince would be mad, so then you had to face Andre the Giant.
What?
Like, he dead.
He came back from the dead. I will say, No Mercy, like I said, arguably one of the greatest games. I will remember that you could unlock Moppy in that game and wrestle Moppy, which was crazy. You could also wrestle Head, which was just a head. There was no body.
That was on Attitude, I think.
Was it on Attitude?
I know the head thing because it was like a floating head with like hands.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was No Mercy too. I think they kept it. I feel.
I don't think so.
We'll have to look.
All right,
it's been a long time since I played that.
What's funny about Attitude is that I remember me and Preston were playing Attitude one time, and like I chose Austin, he chose Jeff Jarrett, and before the match they gave each other the person, and then they would say something, and Jeff Jarrett's like, "Don't piss me off," and Austin said, "Ah, you pissed me off."
That's great. Don't piss me off. You pissed me off.
Oh, dude, it was awesome.
It's the little things like that.
I'm still recovering from a very crappy cold, so please bear with me.
Listen, your viewers think you've had like the month's longest cold because you've done so many like around each other episodes right around the time you were sick.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Shadows of the Empire.
Fuck yeah!
This was another really, really early game. Might have been a launch game for the system, if I remember correctly.
Dash Rendar
is actually on the cover of this, like of the box. The Stormtrooper.
I didn't even know.
Mario, you had Killer Instinct, you had the Stormtrooper. Well, anyway, this game was to me like a big Star Wars nut. So coming into this, and you get to play the Battle of Hoth.
Oh,
you're in a snow speeder. And I'm like, this game is amazing.
I can't figure out how to fucking release the thing to go around the legs.
Well, like, I would always fly into the legs anyway. Like, I was like,
explodes every time.
And then I remember, like, the game glitching up, and it, like, allowed me to, like, try and, like, do that to an ATST. And I'm like, oh, no. It's like just shooting right at me. I'm like, stop it.
No.
And, but then, of course, after that, you actually get to control dash. And you're running around. You can play in first person or third person. Controls are horrible either way.
Still a fun game.
It is still a really fun game to play because it's really early. In some cases, like it kind of reminds me of the of like maybe a Duke Nukem style where you got to run, you got to hit these little buttons, and like you let the wampas out of the echo base.
Yeah.
And then the stormtroopers they start getting beat up by them. And then you also have some really cool segments where you have like. There's the whole like speeder bike portion.
Yeah.
There's the IG-88 fight.
Yeah.
Because this game takes place kind of in between.
You also fight Boba, right?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that towards the finale of the game? Not the end, but it's towards the end.
Boba is before IG-88, but I may be wrong.
Okay, that might be right. Because he might be the introduction of the bounties.
Because the thing is that this game takes place like during Empire in a different direction, and also like a little bit after.
I wish it would have been canon.
Oh, me too. Now, this was also a book. If you've never read the book, please give it a go. I used to have it. I don't know. I don't have it anymore.
I mean, the Shadows of the Empire extended universe, like, not only was it just the game, but they had toys for it. There was like the Chewie with the Scouter eye patch thing from DBZ, kind of, and there was a alternate Luke, and
there's a Prince Shizor,
yeah,
whatever his name is, and then of course the ending is like the Skyhook battle, because Dash's ship is very similar to the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
They're both Corellian freighters.
What's Dash's called though?
The Outrider.
Outrider, I thought so.
And he claimed his ship was faster than the Falcon, and of course Hans would be like, whatever. The cool thing is though, if you beat the game on hard. You actually meet back up on Tatooine as a rendezvous point for Luke because they're going to go save Han.
Mm-hmm.
And after they save Han, you get to race the Falcon.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I want to play that game and beat it on hard.
Because in the regular normal mode, apparently you don't make it out of the Skyhook battle. Like when it's kind of like the Death Star when they fly into it,
mm-hmm.
and you have to get out before it blows up. But with the Skyhook, you have to like fly in, blow that part up, fly out, fly this in this way, blow up. You have to do it like 4 times. So by the time you do it the 4th time, you're going out as it's like blowing up. And really awesome game though, because it's one of those Star Wars games where it doesn't make you a Jedi. You're not overpowered. You're a dude with a blaster, and that's it. And then like a jetpack. So it's a much different kind of like Star Wars.
God, that game is so much fun. What do you want to talk about next?
Let's go ahead and just keep talking about Star Wars. We got a few more Star Wars games.
Sure.
We'll talk about this one next. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Oh, the Pod Racer game.
Yeah, so this is the Pod Racer, based upon the scene from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, where Anakin does the whole like modern day or Star Wars style Ben-Hur.
He's racing for his freedom.
Right.
Against Sebulba.
And then all the other racers. Now you can select all the other racers in this as well as Anakin. And it's a really competent racer. What's cool about this is that this actually has a sequel, and I almost bought it the other day.
Really? I didn't know there was a sequel.
It's on the PS2. It's called Star Wars Episode 1 Racer Revenge or Pod Racer Revenge.
You know what? I have seen that, yeah.
And guess who made that game?
Who?
The same guys. Wow, I cannot speak. The same developer as ATV.
Really?
ATV Off-Road Fury.
Huh.
Almost bought it. Maybe if we stop by there today and they still have it for like, I think it was like $4. I might pick that up.
Nice.
Because I mean, it's just like the Episode 1 Racer was also on the Dreamcast. There's a version of that for out there, but every time I see it, it's always like it's in the same store. It's been there for 5 years.
It ain't going nowhere.
It's not going anywhere, and they want $15 for it. And I'm just like, no one's buying it. Unless you drop that down to $5, I ain't going to buy it. But the last one here is probably the best Star Wars game on the system. And that is, in my opinion, that is Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
Space Fighter.
This is like a flight fighter where you fly X-Wings, A-Wings.
B-Wings.
B-Wings aren't in this.
Y-Wing?
Y-Wings are.
Mm-hmm.
You can fly the Falcon. You can fly TIE Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So you get like all those ships, and you can go and you do missions. You have different objectives that you have to get completed. I think there is like a section with this speeder where you got to use the whole hook and everything again. But it was just an awesome game, and that focuses specifically on the ships. There are sequels. They're both on the GameCube. Which is Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader, and then Rogue Squadron 3, whatever that one's called.
Rebel something?
Rebel Assault.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one as much. I did get it, and I was so stoked to get that game. And then you get out of your ship and you run around and you shoot stuff. And like it's not like
it kind of takes away from the experience.
Well, like but it doesn't control very well in that mode. Like when you're in your ship, game's fucking flawless, but when you're on foot, it's kind of questionable. But this doesn't have that. Awesome game from LucasArts there. Now we're gonna go and we are gonna talk about arguably one of the most fun games on the entire system, and that is 007.
Goldeneye.
Of course, Pierce Brosnan is that his
yes, sir.
Name? He was our 007 for the 90s, and this was his first movie. And 007, this was a shooter developed by Rare, and coming into this era of the consoles, coming in from like Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem and Doom, and now we're bringing a consoleized shooter here. This game almost kind of revolutionized the shooter.
It was so much more cinematic than any other shooter had been before. It was doing a good job of trying to tell the story of Goldeneye, I thought.
Well, there's that, but then you also have the 4-player multiplayer.
True. I personally never used that because I didn't have enough people that...
Oh, man. Me, Presto, Jason, we played it all the time. And especially when you could get like the golden gun or you just run around karate chopping people. Yeah. I remember me and Rob... When I got this, we played it, and we actually put our health at plus 200 because we're like, oh, dude, we're going to suck. We probably need more health. And we sat there and just shot them continuously. And it just took so long to die.
Why aren't you dying?
Like, it got to a point where we just quit running, and we just sat there. And we're like, wonder who's going to die first. I don't know, man.
It's a game of chance.
Oh, I'm out of ammo.
Your story was not boring either, I promise. Revenge of the Yawns. A new yawn.
We'll see. Now we could go into a big tangent because we have so many Rare games here. Because, like,
not Rare as in hard to find, literally as in Rare the company.
Games.
Wow, I didn't realize. Tons.
Yeah, because we'll just go right into this. The sequel to 007 is Perfect Dark.
Really?
Same engine.
Oh, interesting.
And this game is one of the games that requires the memory expansion.
You said you were going to talk about that.
And there is a list.
Here's what the system actually came with, the N64 Jumper Pack.
Yeah.
So that actually came in the system here. I don't think I can get this out. You did a better job of.
Yeah, there's actually a little key for it.
I'm not going to try.
Specifically, but see. I'm actually going to look up all the games, N64 games that need...
Expansion pack?
Need expansion pack, yeah.
Oh, man.
And apparently there's only 4 that absolutely require it.
Which are?
Donkey Kong 64, another rare-made game.
Yes.
The single-player mode of Perfect Dark.
This.
Another rare-made game. Multiplayer mode of StarCraft 2.
You don't have that.
No, I don't. Or no, StarCraft 64, my bad. And The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, which I have right over there.
Bow!
So, essentially, guys, is that what the memory expansion does, it allows the game to run better. Other games do utilize, the extra RAM to run more smoothly. Now, there's a cool little thing that I noticed when I played this, and that there's a way that you can control using 2 controllers.
What?
You want to hand me the other controller?
Yeah.
You plug controller 1 into 2, and you can do this and do dual.
Really?
Yeah,
Shooting?
yeah.
That's crazy.
It is so weird.
So it's just a straight up shooter.
But
You're just
in order to hit buttons, you have to go.
Oh, weird.
I don't like it. It's too much of a reach.
But that's a thing they actually like advertised you could do?
I don't know if they advertised it, but when you look into the control section, you can definitely do it. Now, Perfect Dark went with Rare, and then this is a Rare owned IP. Unlike Donkey Kong or Goldeneye, they own this, and they own all the other ones here as well. Jet Force Gemini, a really cool little action game here that they did, and then of course Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. They made these cool, awesome third-person adventure platformer games, and them making these games that they own led them to getting licensed to do the Donkey Kong game. And then what they also did with that, they also did Diddy Kong Racing.
Cool.
Which is the first game to feature Conker.
Ah, nice lead in, Brando.
As a racer, now Conker was basically Rare's crescendo. They were looking at making another cool third-person platformer type
IP,
game.
yeah.
And they chose Conker, and they're like, he was gonna be this this cute little kid character. But then, as a joke, they started writing all these really adult themes with him, and it just made them laugh.
So they just ran with it.
They ran with it, and now he's like this drunken squirrel.
Is there a sequel to this that came out on Xbox?
There is a remake.
Oh.
It is a remake of the original Conker's Bad Fur Day called Conker's Reloaded.
Ah.
So the OG Xbox did get that, and of course you can collect it as well. That is a little bit cheaper now, I think, because Conker's Reloaded was expensive. It went back down. Conker's Bad Fur Day is about a $60 game.
Whoa.
Used. So.
God damn! Did you buy it used, second party?
Yes.
Had to spend some dollars?
I did spend some dollars on that. It was originally marked at $70, and I went, ouch, let's do it. Screw it. Here we go. And then I got it, and it wasn't as much.
Oh, nice.
Really quick here, they have a game here on N64. I don't know if it ever came out on PlayStation. It might have. Called NBA Hang Time. This is NBA Jam. They lost the license to NBA Jam, and then when they went to go make a sequel to NBA Jam, it's called NBA Hang Time. Because I played it, I'm like, man, these guys are ripping off NBA Jam. And I looked it up. Wait, no, they're not.
They are NBA Jam.
They are NBA Jam. This game I got when I got my system back. It's called Dual Heroes. It's a fighter. Me, Rob, and Wes all agree this is one of the worst games we've ever played. It is so bad.
Really?
So bad. We're going to have to play this one day just for S's and G's.
I'm into that.
It is one of the worst games. This got featured on the podcast as being one of the worst games I've ever played. We are down to the nitty-gritty here, folks. We're going to talk about
the
Zelda,
Zeldas.
The Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Now, what this game is, this is your first big 3D epic Zelda game for Ocarina of Time. It's regarded by many to be one of the greatest Zelda games of all time. Of course, it does involve the time travel. You use a little kid Link, growing up to be teen Link or adult Link, going and kicking some ass, going to the future. And, of course, there are 2 different timelines that bridge off of this.
I think so. Link Between Worlds?
No. That one is for Link to the Past.
Oh, that's right.
One goes to Wind Waker and one goes to Majora's Mask.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so weird how the timeline works out. Majora's Mask was originally just supposed to be an expansion for Ocarina, but then that was the DD game, and then they were like, well, okay, never mind. Let's just make a full-blown extra game, and that's why this game seems smaller in scope, but it's it's a much different style with the whole masks and like assuming the different powers, and then, of course you have a 3-day limit to beat the game, otherwise the world explodes.
Legit.
And there's a legendary stream online, guys, where this dude fell asleep playing the game, and the world's blowing up, and everyone's like, "Quick, wake him up! He's gonna die!" And everyone in the chat is just going nuts, like, "Can't believe you're doing it." These games are awesome, by the way. They're also now available on the 3DS if you want to play them in a more modern system. So we're gonna talk about Star Fox 64. Star Fox 64 got released in lieu of Star Fox 2 over here. Because of the timing and everything, Star Fox 64 is almost like a mix between Star Fox 1 and Star Fox 2. Easiest way to say that.
Yeah.
It is like it's like a remake
1.5
mixture of both of them, and it's an awesome game. Also available on the 3DS. Of course, it has your different modes instead of just one. Now, of course, Star Fox 2 had like the little land walker. Now you have a tank. You actually have like a submarine. Dang. You have multiplayer on this. Which is really cool, and of course you also have like some really cool aerial battles. What's called the all range mode, where like normally you're just kind of flying forward, moving around, but now they open up like this big 3D space and you can fly freely. That happened first in Star Fox 2, and of course now they bring in the Star Wolf team, and you can fly around and do dogfights with the Star Wolf team.
Do a barrel roll.
Awesome game there. And lastly, I don't know if these other games are anything worth talking about. Blitz, Forsaken, WCW Mayhem, Paperboy. But last game here on the table is Paper Mario. Sequel to Mario RPG. In fact, this was called Super Mario RPG 2 there for a while. And what kind of led them to not do that is that Square kind of half owns that.
Oh.
Square pretty much developed Super Mario RPG with help with Nintendo. So they co-own some of the characters that aren't Nintendo properties in there. So when Nintendo would like, oh, okay, and then Square kind of like said, yeah, we're not doing stuff for Nintendo on this cycle because the cartridges were going over here to Sony. So Nintendo's like, we're going to do something else then. And in the middle of development, they switched and they kind of came up with their own idea. That's where Paper Mario was born.
Awesome.
And so it's still an RPG, but it's a kind of their own different take on that. And it went like, Super Mario RPG almost has two separate spiritual successors. You have the Paper Mario series and the Mario and Luigi series that went on to the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, a lot of cool games like like Baby Mario and Baby Luigi and those stories.
Well, no, this was like an RPG.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's one of them's called Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Yes, I do know about those games. It's hard to remember all the games that came out, especially working at GameStop. A lot of stuff comes in and out and in and out. Of course, we never took these in trade or some of the other stuff, but you do see people try to bring stuff in, so I feel like I've seen them all,
You want to take this Atari?
We don't take Atari, sir, no, but I'll buy it off of you for $8.
As you guys did. Now, we're going to look at some facts here about the N64 before we get out of here, guys.
And I also have this nifty book.
Oh, yes, I forgot about the book.
No way to forget about this book.
This anthology book that you brought.
My buddy Cody lent this to us to utilize for the N64 episode. It is a Kickstarter-based book. If you were a backer, you got like this awesome bound book. One thing that's really neat about it is it has literally an entire game. I literally went right to the start of the games library. Look, like to the first page. That's crazy. So it has an entire games library. It has like every game and what its rarity was, how many units it sold, what stars it was rated as far as the quality of the game. There's only a couple. Blast Core, I played the shit out of that game. It's a terrible game, but
Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of stuff you wouldn't even know. Trying to look at some of these here, like. I didn't know there was a Castlevania game that came out for the system. Yeah, there's two.
There's the original one, and then there's like a one that kind of remastered it a little bit. They kind of did some. It's like you get the first one, but then the second one's like that game plus more.
Clay Fighter 63 1/3. I remember seeing that at the rental place all the time. Here's Conker's Bad Fur Day. It got 5 stars, and it's 5-star rarity.
Yeah.
So this is probably the only game.
It's got released. Does it have a release year? Or release day?
America release March 5th of 2001.
Yeah, so think about that. 2001.
Wow, that's late.
And so the PS2 launched in 2000, and in November of 2001, both the GameCube and Xbox got released.
And Cruis'n USA played that. I mean, there are tons of games. Another thing that's cool about this, deeper in the book, you get... oh, God, it's so heavy. They have a list of canceled games. So Dragon Quest VII was going to come out on the 64. Final Fantasy VII was going to come out on the 64. Grand Theft Auto was going to come out on the Nintendo 64. Metal Gear Solid Nintendo 64 game. Never happened. Metroid 64. Never happened. And they actually have like a huge list of a lot of these different games just going down. Some of this stuff ending up like Eternal Darkness ends up on the GameCube. A lot of the other games here did. Metal Gear Solid 64, of course, becomes Twin Snakes.
Earthbound 64 was originally
Mother 3.
Mother 3, which that was going to be released on the 64 DD, and of course the failure of that ensured that never got released, and that game got demade into Mother 3 onto the Game Boy Advance.
Weird. Another game I didn't even notice here, but they were going to put Golgo 13 on here, which was an NES game.
Yeah.
Looks like they were going to remake that. Of course, that never happens. I don't think it ever came out. Resident Evil 0
Yeah.
was going to come out for N64.
I remember seeing screenshots from Resident Evil 0.
And it's just like they decided, you know what? Let's just wait a little bit and put this on our new system. Of course, this also has some rarities and collector's editions that came out for the system.
It's a really cool book to look through.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of information. Collector's Corner. It actually even has a checklist for all the stuff and variations for all the different things that ever came out for Nintendo 64. I think you can get this online for like $40 now.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Now, the system was released in June of 23rd, 1996 in Japan. North America was a limited release September 26th, and then an official release September 29th of 96. And it was discontinued in North America November 30th, 2003. Had a worldwide sales of 32.93 million. And then, of course, all the different specs and everything. And we're actually going to go to what do you think the best-selling game was?
Best-selling game for this system?
Yeah.
Mario 64,
Mario
right?
64.
It has to be because it was bundled with the system.
And
it was earliest
out. 11.62 million copies.
Wow.
So there's a list of Nintendo games, or like we can do like the list of like best-selling games.
Sure, yeah, let's find some of the best-selling. I feel like the Zeldas are going to be best-selling. Some of the sports games will have been best-selling. Goldeneye is a bestseller. Trying to think of some of these other ones here.
I'm just going to go for the top 10.
I don't know how we didn't talk about this game, Brando. I am going to just like interject this because if I don't talk about this game, I might cry. But Pokemon Snap.
There we go.
Good God, it's one of the best games on the system. Play the hell out of it. You beat it, you get Mew, you take all the cool pictures. It's fantastic. It was definitely another one of those games that just is a part of my childhood that I'll never forget.
Okay, so number 1 was Mario 64. Number 2 is Mario Kart 64.
Another game that's not on here.
9.8. Yeah, I don't have that game. That's
Me neither.
I don't have.
Same. I don't think I've ever seen it in the wild either, at least
I've seen
personally.
it multiple times, and it's just like $40, and it's one of those things of whenever I see it, it's not a matter of time. It's not a matter of when I'm spending a lot of money or I'm doing anything like that. So I have to look at it and go, do I want to buy that one game or do I want to go buy like 3 others? You know? It's always a
quantity over quality.
It's there, and it's like I know I can get it. GoldenEye's number 3 at 8 million. Ocarina of Time, Zelda at 7.6. Super Smash Brothers.
We didn't talk about that. I do have that one.
I don't own that one, and honestly, it's like the original one I didn't really care for that much.
It's not that great. It wasn't until the second one on Cube that it really leveled up. Super Smash Brawl, right? Was 2?
Yeah. And that's 5.5 million. Pokemon Stadium number 6, that was 5.4. Donkey Kong 64, 5.2. Number 8, Diddy Kong Racing, 4.8. Number 9, Star Fox 64 at 4 million. Number 10, Banjo-Kazooie.
Wow. A lot of those games on the table today.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, from there, really quickly, no numbers. Pokemon Snap, 11. 12, Majora's Mask, Zelda. 13, Episode 1 Racer. 14, Wave Race 64. 15, Yoshi Story. 16, Mario Party. 17, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. 18, Pokemon Stadium 2. 19, Perfect Dark. 20, Mario Party 2.
Did you ever play, what was that, like 1080 Avalanche?
1080 snowboarding.
Snowboarding, yes. That game was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that game was tons of fun, dude.
Absolutely. I loved this system, Brando. I'm when you said, hey, do you want to do the N64 retrospective? I was like, Sign me the fuck up. I'm there.
Dude, I'm there. I'm there as well. This
Well, of course you're there. It's your show.
It is my show. I mean, because I absolutely love it. Like, there's some systems I would love to do, but as far as a collector thing, it's like I don't have enough games like the Dreamcast. I love the Dreamcast, but I don't have enough games to cover that.
I could only loan you 1 or 2.
Well, and that would make me probably have like 10. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot either.
Original Xbox would be an interesting retrospective. You haven't done that yet?
No. I would love to be able to do that.
You've done PS1?
Yes, PS1
And PS2?
PS2.
Not 3 yet.
Not 3. I've done the 360.
Vita?
The Vita, I don't have that many games. I have some games for the Vita, but not
Did you
a
do a
lot.
retrospective on it, though?
No, we sort of just kind of did like a little, hey, this is why you should buy this thing.
Oh, yeah.
We did the PSP, kind of. It was the first one of these we did, and it was sort of like not intentional. It was like after that I came up with the idea to just focus on a system.
And you also did, just recently, like last episode or 2 episodes ago somewhere in here, you just did the NES.
NES, we've done SNES. Now we've done 64. We have done GameCube already. So maybe one day we can do the Wii and like Wii U maybe. I've got like quite a few Wii U games.
I have quite a lot of Wii and Wii U game titles
We did
as well.
Game Boy.
Oh,
for
sweet.
episode 50. We did Game Boy Family. We just did the whole, all of them.
All the handhelds.
And so Sega Genesis is another one I've thought about, but it's like I am not a big collector of it. Like I owned it. It's fun. I have a lot of cool games for it, but it's like not one that I'm super passionate about.
We should just bring all the Sega stuff for one episode. If you have so little Sega stuff, you just do an episode where you cover the Dreamcast and the Genesis and all that shit.
Yeah, do
That's
Sega
the way to do it.
Retrospective. Do like Sega as a company.
Yeah.
I don't own a Saturn either. It's like I've had opportunities to buy a Saturn, but I'm like, I can't collect those around here.
Do you have a Neptune?
No, I do not have a Neptune either. Or a Jupiter.
Those were only, we talked about that yesterday, they were only prototypes, right? Neptune never officially hit the market.
No. Yeah. That was a close but no cigar. But I think it's going to do it for us here today.
I'm going to ask you one question.
What?
If you were on a desert island, this system, and one game, what are you taking with you?
That's rough.
Yes, it is.
I'm trying to think of like level of like replayability, a level of like enough to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because instantly my gut reaction was Paper Mario. But I think I'm going to say Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
Because simply, like, there's so much to do in that game, so much to explore and see, that I feel like even if I took it on an island with me, like,
You could take your time getting through it and you wouldn't, get bored of it. It's not like you're spending every waking moment playing your game, but it's there to use.
No, because I got to survive a little
Also
bit. At least.
true.
I got to eat. I got to build my shelter.
Like, damn, I don't have water. Well, I do have water because I'm on an island. I guess I don't have fire, but I've got this system. Hot shit. But hey, the TV and the system at least keep you warm at night. You just turn it on, and cuddle up to the TV, play a little.
But then what happens when it burns out? And like, I'm just.
I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead. Maybe you have a lifetime cache of systems and TVs, but you only have the one game. Some little dude just walks out. Here's your new TV, sir. Here is your new system, sir.
You remember in Gilligan's Island when to get power, they had like the little exercise bike?
Yeah.
With the lines?
Oh my gosh, you doing that? Like powering up the N64.
Or I got that little dude that brings up the system. He's like, make it power for you, sir.
Reginald, will you go get on the bicycle so I can play a little Nintendo 64?
Shouldn't you be getting coconuts, sir? Later.
I'm not hungry.
See, well, like video games for me are like the king of procrastination. So that's like the central for me of maybe later.
For me, I'm taking Mario 64.
Oh,
because
again, level of amounts of things to do.
And replayability, nostalgia factor. It gives me something warm and cuddly to think about. So, yeah, man.
You're
Thank
gonna
you.
need that on an island.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, though, for having me on today.
Absolutely, Nate. Thanks for coming down. That's going to do it for us here today on the Game Addicts podcast. As always, you can check us out wherever fine podcasts are available. We're on like iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music. We're on YouTube if you want to come and watch us sit down and talk about this kind of crap. We are available on YouTube. You can go hit a subscribe, hit that notification button. That way you never miss out on an episode or a clip that I post. That way you always stay up to date.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe below. You just push the little button, and then you get your episodes. You get your little teasers, which I love.
That's just what I said.
You put the clips.
That's exactly what I just said.
You put everything.
I said.
I know. I'm
if
just
you wanna go to YouTube,
reinforcing.
I said hit subscribe and hit the little bell notification that we never miss.
No, I know, but I'm just reinforcing. You
'cause
never
like-
miss because here's the
because
thing.
you-
You did not tell me. Here's the thing. You didn't tell me you were going to start doing like little video clip things to like tease your coming episode. And one day I'm at home, bing, it's a Tuesday, notification for new Game Addicts. It's not Thursday. What? I'm so confused. Open it up. It's a clip. I didn't know they were going to do this. I'm on the network and I didn't even have a clue. So it was awesome. I'm just reinforcing to your listeners.
Well, the way you said it made it sound like that, like, you didn't say this, so let me say this for you. I'm like, I already did.
I was just trying to double reinforce it for you.
If you guys want to help support the show, head over to patreon.com/Journey into Comics. That way you guys can help out the entire network. You get 10 full shows on one feed if you do the early access tier, which is only $1 a month, guys. You get like 10 early access up to a week for all the shows. And then you get bonus content also from all the shows that do sometimes do that. And we're getting ready to start up a really cool campaign here on the road to Infinity War. If you guys are a fan of the Marvel movies, all the shows are going to be contributing and doing reviews for every single film leading up to Infinity War.
I actually feel like we're already deep in that at this point. 2 or 3.
Maybe, but I'm letting you guys know, man, that way you guys can go check us out and help support the show. With that being said, I think it's going to do it for us this week here on episode 64 of the Game Addicts Podcast. Until next time, I've been Brando.
I've been Nate.
And we'll see you next week, guys. Take it easy.